how you are using your voice is so important. The words that you speak are creating your life.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, a podcast for women in business who are ready to lead with more clarity, more ownership, and more confidence in who they already are. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence coach, public speaker, and the founder of award-winning theatre school Madden Theatre Arts. This is not about becoming someone new, it's about returning to your voice and leading in a way that feels aligned. Here we explore confidence, leadership, visibility, business growth, and the real shifts that happen as you evolve. If you know you're capable of more, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Today I am so excited to be joined by an incredible guest who is the founder of Soul Speaks, and she has a platform that elevates conscious founders to find their voices and to enable them to get booked and paid. Who doesn't like the sound of that? So welcome, Laura Beddoe-Collins, to Reclaim Your Voice.
I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you for inviting me to come and speak to your beautiful community.
So for anyone who hasn't come across you, or perhaps they only know you a little bit, can you give us a little insight or a little snapshot into your world of what you do, who you help, and what the Soul Speaks community is all about?
What a beautiful question. So I have been in the online space, as it were, for just under a decade. It's coming up to a decade. And I've bounced around with different things over those 9 years, starting out in personal training and selling supplements. And then it evolved into, I had a bricks and mortar business called the Healing Rooms. And then we had this little thing called the pandemic, which is 6 years ago now. Can you believe? This week, and I was in the midst of, I was having infertility problems, and then I fell pregnant with my beautiful little girl, and I was about to host a in-person event called the Healing Fest at the time. And because of the pandemic, we had to shift to a virtual event. And that went really well. I had, previous to my entrepreneurial journey, I was working in corporate and in sales. So I used to train people how to sell. Through the pandemic, because the Healing Fest went so successfully, I had a lot of people asking me, how have you managed to do this? And I've always been a bit of a tech geek, and I like the behind the scenes stuff, like the funnels and all of that. But I'm also, as you know, very spiritual. So I wanted to create a business that incorporated all of my passions. So running events, sales, spirituality, and then it just naturally unfolded that because of my gifts. So one of my gifts is I am what's called a clairsentient. So I read people's energy, and sometimes I have messages for them, or almost as if when you're telling me what your vision is for the future, I can see and feel it for you. So I use those gifts to help high caliber founders to, number one, own the stage, and also to not shrink down or play small when it comes to sales. So yeah, all of those skills combined, I run 2 flagship events. This year we've got the Soul Speaks Live, which obviously you're a part of and you're going to be speaking at.
Cannot wait.
And this year we are going to be in a new venue. We're going to be hosting 250 conscious founders coming in from all over the country, and actually coming in and flying in from other countries as well. So that's the flagship event. We have the virtual summit, which is a global event, which we've just had, which is called Unapologetic Wealth. We have my podcast, which is Unapologetic Wealth, which is launching in the summer. And I have just the most gorgeous community of conscious founders that are coming in all over the world. There's 18,000 across the platforms, and I know it's crazy. It's just an absolute delight. The real thing that I love is just seeing the light switch on in somebody, and seeing that confidence, and being able to not only walk into a room and own it, but seeing that ripple. Because when you own, as you know, when you own your confidence from the inside, not reaching outside of you, you just become really, truly magnetic. So that's it in a nutshell.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura. So I love how we've talked about what the outcomes are for so many of the high caliber people that you're working with. But when people come to you initially before they've worked with you, what sort of stuff is usually going on for them? What are the struggles you're seeing when it comes to speaking and visibility and stepping on stage and things like that?
Well, usually by the time somebody gets to me, they've already got an established big business. So they have been working with clients, they're getting results, and they're probably attending lots of events as well. And they're watching these people on the stage and thinking, I think I'm really well equipped in what you're talking about. And I think I could get up there and do this myself. However, there's two camps, right? So there's somebody that is really confident and they will just get onto the stage and they will own the stage. But when it comes to selling their services, then they have blocks around money mindset, around pricing. And if you already have that and you stand on the stage, it's amplified to 10x. So there's one type of client. And then you've got the other type of client that's already really great at sales, but they are looking to really refine and own the stage. And usually these types of clients are people that are really knowledgeable, but a little bit dry. So they're going to get on the stage and they're going to go through the PowerPoint presentation. And obviously it's going to be a bit of a snooze fest for the audience. And they're not going to make any sales because people are not tuned into them. So yeah, really established business owners that want to take their credibility, their authority, and start to scale and work one to many rather than one to one.
And when your clients end up speaking on stage, what kind of results are you often seeing when they have either mastered that kind of speak to sell, if that's what is required of them at that event, if you know what I mean? Because obviously not all events, not all speakers are on stage actively selling something.
Yeah.
Or what results are you seeing from, the people that might be offering the PowerPoint presentation snooze fest? What kind of results are we getting?
So again, obviously not everybody's going to be extroverted and not everybody is going to be flamboyant, coming on, singing, dancing, all of that sort of stuff. Like that just isn't everybody's personality. But when you learn how to present in a way that is in your personality type, and you can talk without looking at cards, you can talk from memory, something that I teach. And that used to be something that I was really afraid of, getting really stuck in my head. And that enables the person, and whether they're there to merely get visibility, there are ways to weave into a talk without being like pitch, pitch, pitch. The way that I teach my clients is really not that. Because
No,
that for
exactly.
me is a big turn off.
So icky, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's ways of still talking in stories is really a way that is going to help a client to sell without selling. And it showcases the journey. So that's one of my USPs is I love hearing stories. I feel really connected with a story. It makes me remember the person. And that really is for somebody that is going onto stage and one, they look really nervous and they're pacing up and down the stage and playing with their sleeves, and which is really, it's really off-putting for the person. When you're on a stage, you need to be embodied in who you are because the room feeds off of your energy. And as you know, I'm really spiritual and holistic, and I believe that energy creates that energy. So if you're really nervous on the stage and then you're just giving all of these dry facts, then again, the audience are going to feel nervous and they're going to disengage. So it's really about helping the person to feel confident in who they are within, and then having a formula, which I teach, around storytelling and actually showcasing your own methodology is going to help you to convert on a much higher rate. And, I've seen some of my clients who are the most introverted people that have got up onto the stage and then had a queue of people when they get off the stage. And that is what lights me up.
And storytelling is just so important, more important than ever right now, I would say, because we're all craving like real things with, obviously the advancements of AI and all of that sort of thing, listening to real people talk about real stories, real experiences. It's where we can see ourselves in others, resonate with other people, align with other people. So it's just really great work because we also want to listen to like really good stories as well, don't we? Not just one that's kind of going on and on or whatever. But you're really passionate about this work and really passionate about supporting people to find their voices. How do you feel you have to show up as a leader and use your voice now through the experiences that you've had?
That's a really great question. And I, as somebody who really is stepping up as a leader, it is really important that, and I've had so many conversations, particularly recently about this, is that how you're using your voice. And I think as a Reiki master, this is something that I truly embody. How you are using your voice is so important. The words that you speak are creating your life. And I always think to myself, am I sharing this from a place of love or am I sharing this from a place of fear? And obviously I don't always get it perfectly. I'm human, right? But it is really important for me as somebody that is seen as a leader within the industry that I'm using my voice for good, and that when I speak up about important things, and also I've always been one to not shy away from the uncomfortable conversations, because that's how we create change. And obviously we've just recently had International Women's Day, and I've just shared a article in the Sussex Business Times, and it was all about how women before us and our generations before us have made that change. The only reason why we're even allowed to have bank accounts today is because of women having uncomfortable conversations, particularly. And I just feel that we need to speak up about uncomfortable things 100%. However, how we are looking at uncomfortable conversations is really important too. And it isn't about I'm right and you're wrong in a conversation. It's about everybody having their space to have their say. And that is how we truly can make positive change within the world. And I know that's a bit cheesy, but it's really important to me.
You're right. It is so important. It's so important for us to acknowledge where we are right now, acknowledge what we can do to push forward and how we can make change. And I just think forming communities of women, particularly where we are making money, we are providing opportunities for other people. So I know you employ people within your company. I have another company where I create jobs and roles for other people. I'm supporting young people as well. If we're collaborating and creating communities and being together, the more that women have got their hands on money and are circulating money and are circulating their ideas, voicing their ideas, the better things are going to become, right?
Exactly. I need to just really make it really clear that although I predominantly work with women and my brand has very much been about working with women, I have veered away from talking just about working with women. I work with conscious founders, and if that's a man, I do have clients that are men, and I love men, and I think that as well is really important that we do love on our men a bit more, because right now they're in a lot of sticky. They need love basically, and
Yeah,
a lot of men are
absolutely.
leading with ego, right? Because they haven't had any great role models. They haven't had great role models. You only have to switch on the news for 5 minutes, and these are the role models that men have had. And yeah, I believe that women need to get more stuck in with leadership, and that I'm very much about breaking down the patriarchal systems and all of that. But it doesn't mean that I am a man bashing feminist. Actually, those conversations, like, I've been to women only networking events for many years, and when I go and it's really just anti-men, I step back.
Oh yeah, no, that wouldn't be for me either.
Yeah, it's not for me. So yeah, I can't remember what you said now, why I've gone off on this tangent.
Me neither. I can't remember either, so don't worry. But what I was just going to say as well is that I'd also like to mention that I also work with men, or anybody of any gender identity, actually. I'm working with a male client at the moment, and it is lovely. It's really great. It's nice to have a bit of differentiation. It's nice to be really flexible with who you work with as well. I think that it's just important to highlight that a lot of men have a bit more privilege, and just like being two white women here, we also have to acknowledge our privilege in certain situations as well, don't we? And yes, just more about how to put wealth into the hands of the right people, I think, is actually what we're trying to say.
Yes, that is what we're talking about. I think you just hit the nail on the head around that is the key. It is the more, for me, I think that's the heart of Soul Speaks, is awakening people to open up their heart space, and that the more money that we can get into great leaders' hands that have open hearts, that are leaning into love, the better. Because right now, a lot of the world leaders, they are leading with fear, and that's why we're in a lot of trouble.
Mhm. And so let's think a bit more about now how we're working with people in our communities, and how we're getting ready for working with people and going on stages and things like that. So have you got an approach that you have when you start working with a new client about their first step in which to step on stage and share their story?
So for me, when a new client comes on board inside of the Soul Speaks Academy, which is my business mastermind, it is a 7-step formula. And the first step is really deep diving into the subconscious mind. So seeing where, and this is also with one-to-one clients, it's like seeing where are you holding yourself back around money and visibility. And this can run really deep. So a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they're like, something is just holding me back. I can't put my finger on it. And it is through working with the subconscious mind. And sometimes I do past life regression as well. And yeah, what comes out is like, wow, like I was not expecting that. Because then when we can really clear any ancestral patterns, anything in this life, I've worked with clients that have had sexual abuse. I've worked with clients that have had abandonment issues. And these are all coming into play when it comes to visibility, and can also affect the way that you manage money. It's just so interesting. So it's taking that step first. And, in a 90-minute session, we can clear like generational trauma. And then, so it's not like speaking about it on and on and on. Some people think, oh my God, that sounds a bit much. And then once it's cleared, then you're able to receive more. So if you could think about yourself as like a receiving bowl, if you like, and you've got the ability for this, it's like, imagine you've got this dry piece of land, and then up above there's this really big pool of water, but there's this something blocking it. And then you work with the subconscious mind, and then it just breaks that open and it can fall down. And then that water that was at the dry patch that needed the water can just fill. And that needs to happen first, because basically when somebody has subconscious blocks around visibility, or they have subconscious blocks around money, of course, that's going to be amplified if you put them on a stage. It's going to be absolutely amplified, whether they know it or not. So yeah, we work on that first. And then you only asked me for the first step, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. I was just like so busy listening to you and thinking, I was literally visualizing this dry patch of land and then this big pool of water, and I was imagining it like a cascade or like a waterfall, like coming down a hill basically into this lovely dry bit, and then moistening it all up and making it all nice and juicy and soaking it all up basically, you know, like the analogy of a sponge where you soak up all the information and retain it and stuff. So that's where my mind was right there. So how then do you, obviously we're not going to go through your entire 7-step process, of course, but how do you then guide your clients from going, I've really got this thing to say, this is the blocks that I need to overcome, to then standing on stage and, as you so beautifully put it, stealing the stage?
Yeah. So again, these people already have results within their business. So they're not somebody that's completely new in business. So we look at the overall business, we look at the brand story, we dissect the brand story, and you've witnessed some of this inside of the High Caliber Speaker Circle. So we dissect the brand story and then we make it really clear, like really crystal, so that it lands with your ideal clients. So a lot of people, when they come on board with me, they have a brand story, but it's a bit all over the place, or it's an old brand story, which actually isn't landing with their ideal client now. So if you're listening to this and you think, oh my goodness, I'm getting booked with loads of calls of people that can't afford me, it's probably to do with the way that you're positioning yourself or your brand story. And yeah, so we really refine that to really hit the nail on the head with who your ideal client is and making them ready and ripe to want to come and work with you, essentially. So yeah, we do that. And then we work with the formula to share. So it's actually selling without selling. And we're doing it right now. You're asking me questions about how I work with my clients. I'm not saying buy my shit. I'm saying how it works. And if you're ready, if that person is ready, great.
Because it could just resonate with somebody and it could just be a couple of sentences and then they go and look into it a little bit further and then you have a conversation and whatever else materializes from there. It's just so, that's why conversations and stories are so important.
Yeah.
So can you give an example of any like standout moments from anybody who you've worked with where the transformation has been, you know, like mind-blowing, maybe from not just how they showed up and spoke, but how they show up in their business as a result, how they lead, you know, any of those kind of conscious leader fundamentals?
So there are so many. So yeah, I always feel a bit like, oh, which one should I share? Obviously my clients listen to podcasts that I'm on and they're like, why do you always talk about this person? But I'm going to share my client, Rosanna Glow. So Rosanna Glow Hannes, her name is, and she already had a thriving business. She came on board to increase her visibility, essentially. And she already had a methodology that she was using, but it just wasn't selling the way that she wanted it to sell. And we went through the process that I normally go through, the 7-step formula. And it was actually inside of the mastermind, I give one-to-ones. It's really important for me to have the one-to-ones with my clients because I want to hold a space for them to be able to talk about stuff that it just isn't right in a group, that we can really deep dive. And it was actually during one of our deep dive sessions that, so as I said, I don't just work with this plane, and I know it sounds really woo, and I'm over it. I talk about it openly. If I'm for you, great. If I'm not, great. So we was in the session and basically we went into, it was all about visibility. Just all of her TikTok views had gone down. She was like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. And she's saying, I'm doing all of the things that you're supposed to be doing. And it was working. In the session, we did a past life regression and it really took her back through to a day and an age where she was murdered for visibility in her beliefs. And obviously I'm not telling her what to say. She's just telling I mean, the only reason that I'm sharing this publicly is because she's done a video testimonial. Of course, anything that happens in my one-to-one sessions is absolutely confidential unless the person shares it publicly and gives me permission. And she went right back, and yeah, she was killed by her community for sharing ancient wisdom. So witch wounds are a real thing. And after that, she had her best month ever, so 25k month, and she had all of the visibility just started really rolling really easily and effortlessly, and that just continued throughout. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's unbelievably fascinating, isn't it? And I feel I was like so shocked when you said that, because I haven't heard that entire story. And I was like, she was murdered by her community. Like, oh my goodness. But of course, as you say, you've had complete permission to share that. It's already been shared publicly in the past, and everything else would be kept completely confidential. We absolutely appreciate you explaining that as well, Laura. I think a lot of people find that they've got like knots within them, haven't they, that they just need to untangle, and just going through your everyday life and sort of, just talking through things, or whatever other sort of sometimes surface level therapeutic ways to try and work through these things just doesn't always quite cut it, does it? And we've just got to go a bit deeper to try and find out what these blocks are, because I think everybody's probably got something going on for them, whether they're aware of it or not. So it's amazing to have people like you who are doing this work to untangle those knots, or break those knots free or something. That's the kind of analogy I'm sort of feeling like. It's something that's
And it's
not
usually
quite
when you
resolved.
yeah, when you can't put your finger on it and you're like, I've tried this and I've hired this coach, and that's what she said. I'll share the testimonial with you and you can put it on
Mm,
the show notes. She said she's tried loads of things, and it's my ability to use my intuition when I'm working with a client. Even if they're telling me something, I will know intuitively if there's something out of alignment. It's interesting.
definitely is. Absolutely. People now are going to be like, oh, I'm not sure if I should tell Laura anything. She'll be able to see right through me.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who thinks I've got a lot to say, I really should be using my voice more, I should be speaking up about things, in their business, what's the first move they need to make?
Just start.
Yes.
Everybody is terrible when they start. I could send you some videos of me 9 years ago. If you're not cringing at yourself, then you're not growing. So just start, just put your camera on, start on social media, apply to speak at events, apply to speak at mine if you want. You don't have to be an experienced speaker. There is training if you want to start there. This October is fully packed out, so you can't apply to speak this year, but it'll be next year. And yeah, just remember that everybody started somewhere, and usually the fear that you have around starting is just one or two people, right? It's usually, in my experience of doing this now for 6 years, in the way that I do it, is usually when I'm working with a client, it is usually one or two people that are holding them back. And usually it is their ex-partner, some old school friends, or old work colleagues. Those are the most common ones, right? So if you think about it, so if I to give myself as an example, for a long time I held back from really putting myself out there because of my ex-boyfriend. Now I have supported hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands now, of clients all over the world. Can you imagine if held back because of my ex-boyfriend? Can we just really think about that for a moment? Like, that is
That's
insanity.
one person. Exactly. It's one person.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of things in there, wasn't there? There's start, don't worry about those people that you're thinking about, because the people that you're going to help, that feeling is so much better.
Exactly. It's the bigger picture, isn't it? You can't let one person or two or three people hold you back over the impact that you could have over, as you've just said, thousands of people. It's like getting a bad review, isn't it? Like, you can't focus on that one bad review. You've got to focus on the hundreds of positive reviews that you've got. Obviously, I completely appreciate it is so much easier said than done, because what do we all do? Our brains go to the negative and go, oh, got a negative review, or whatever it is. My sort of one of my last sort of questions as we start bringing things to a close, Laura, is how have you overcome any sort of confidence wobbles that you may have had as you've been building your business over the last 9 years? What's one of your go-to things that you like to do if you're just feeling a bit wobbly when it comes to what you're about to push forward to do next?
So I am a little bit of a freak when it comes to I am a little bit of a freak when it comes to pushing myself forward. So I actually enjoy that feeling of fear, but I do have wobbly days. I really do. And what helps me to get back in the moment is knowing that I can change and start my day at any given point. I can get up and move my body, and it's just a day. We only ever get one day at a time, right? And there's always tomorrow. Obviously, there's not always tomorrow, but we have a new day tomorrow. So it's just remembering that and telling yourself that you can start again. And even if it went really bad one day, there's tomorrow. You can just start again. And also, I just wanted to go back to the bad reviews. I actually saw somebody share online somewhere recently that the pyramids get bad reviews. 1 star.
What, are they too pointy?
Yeah, literally, it's giving you examples of there's too much sand. So next time,
it's like people are going to complain about the pyramids. Who cares?
Yes,
focus on your positive reviews.
But also with trolls and things like that, I've been very fortunate. I haven't had very many. I really haven't. Like, touch wood.
That's really good to hear. Yeah. That's really good to hear, though.
But I've had a few over the years, and I just think to myself, like, how sad must that person be to sit and give somebody abuse that they don't know? That's it.
I'd love to have that much time on my hands personally, but there we go. Obviously, I'm not going to use my free time to troll anybody, but do you know what I mean? Just like, how have you got space in your brain to think about something in a horrible way and then write it and then post it? I just don't get it at all. But there we go. So, Laura, anyway, let's wrap this up now, because we've covered so many amazing things today. So thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, all your incredible thoughts, and all your ways to help people with stepping onto stage with more confidence and crafting their stories. Where can we find you on social media, first of all? Where are you hanging out?
So my favourite hangout place is Instagram, and that is Laura_Beddoe_coach.mentor.
I will link that up in the show notes.
I have a really gorgeous private community on Facebook called the Soul Speaker Lounge, which is around 1,000 conscious founders, and there are loads of free resources in there, which includes the 9 reasons that you are not getting paid to speak. And as I did mention earlier, I have the application to speak on my podcast. There are lots of options for you there.
Amazing. So many great ways to connect with you, how we can collab, how we can get freebie from you. So yeah, we'll link all of that up in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me today, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, then head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gift. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.